Oh, hello. My name is Frank. Welcome to my video here on my YouTube channel. I am going to talk about driving for Lyft and or Uber, and just kind of give you my experience, share my experience. I'm sorry if my eyes were blinking or whatever. These aren't my normal glasses. These are my replacement glasses until my new ones get in here. So working for Lyft and or Uber, are you thinking about doing this? I think you should. If you have a full-time job and don't have the weekends off, you should be doing Lyft and or Uber. If you have a part-time job, you should be doing Lyft and or Uber if you can. It's really simple, and I'm also going to tell you the pros. I'm going to tell you the pros, and I'm going to tell you the cons of working for these two companies. It's very simple. Lyft is probably the easiest one to get into first, and Uber takes about a month. First, obviously, if you've gone to the website, if you inquired, you have to have, I think Uber requires a 2006 or newer car, 4-door. It has to be a car. I'm not sure if you could have a truck that has 4 doors. I'm not sure how they work. But if you have like a sedan or like an SUV or something, that they could take that, but that's going to be considered an Uber XL. So I don't know how that works. I only do Uber X, which is like your normal standard cars. I have a 2009 Impala, Chevy Impala, which I guess more than meets the qualifications, is in good condition, yada yada. Lyft is probably the easy. Like I said, Lyft is the easiest thing to get into. There's no sign up process really. You sign up, you get a link, you download the Lyft app, that the rider and driver uses. The riders obviously request the Lyft, and the drivers, you hit the wheel over to the top right, and you're in drive mode. So you are you're ready to pick people up. What you do is you hit drive mode. I think you hit drive mode, and you request a mentor. That's the cool thing about it. And then you're next thing you know, a guy that's in your area or something like that. And I'm in Arizona, so I met some guy down in Tempe or something like that. Met at a McDonald's, and we fist bumped or whatever the hell Lyft does. He checked out my car. We were supposed to do a test drive, but the app wasn't working at that time, I guess. So that wasn't going to fly. And he basically just told me, hey, this is what Lyft does. This is what Lyft is going to do. They pay every week. This is what they require. This and blah, 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 blah. Now, he took a picture of me. He took a picture of my car, license plate. He took a picture on his phone of my insurance card, and I think that was it. Not even registration. He uploaded that to his boss, and he's like, all right, we'll let you know in a few days if you're accepted. And while this all was going on, I started the process with Uber. Uber is a lot more different. They don't start doing anything until you have everything submitted, as in insurance, registration, picture of your, and this is all, you can either scan it in or just take a picture with your phone. That's what I did. I took everything that I submitted, I took on my phone, and they took it. Now, one of the final phases you need to do is, for Uber, is have your car inspected. And at that point, this was like October, you have to pay for that. And I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to pay for that shit. When I get the money, maybe I'll go back to this, whatever. But I'm gonna check out Lyft. Lyft does not require me to do inspection, because they have a guy meet you and he inspected my car. Boom, I get accepted by Lyft. And I was like, yay, I'm excited. Screw Uber. Lyft is going to get me a bunch of money, yada yada. Did my first night of Lyft. My first week of Lyft was actually pretty cool. It was fun and exciting. My first ride with Lyft was, I took a guy a mile. Charged me $4, whatever. But my first week of Lyft, I made about $93. Hey, at that time I was working part-time. An extra $93 by driving a few hours a night is actually pretty awesome. You're sitting down, you're in your office, you know, your car basically, and it was pretty cool. You know, I thought it was badass. The second night, you know, so that week total was 93. The next week, 60 something. Hey, an extra 60 something bucks isn't too bad. You know, that's, you know, some gas money or whatever, so extra money in the, you know, in your pocket. And this is still, I'm kind of debating if I want to join Uber or not. The third week, $10. And this is me being active, being online, being in the most popular areas, colleges, and downtown Phoenix, Scottsdale. I went to all these areas during the peak times, got 1 or 2 people, and they were very close. They weren't that far in you know, the distance. I was crushed. I was crushed. I was like, is this how it's going to be? It's going to be $93 one week, $60 another week, $10 this week. Thankfully, Uber, throughout this whole time, Uber was like, hey, come, you know, we have offices now. Come bring your car down. And, you know, this and this. We get inspected. So I was like, maybe. And then they sent me an email saying, hey, take your Uber car to, because the offices were like, you know, pretty far away from here at that time. Now they have an office really close. So they sent me an email, hey, now we've partnered up with Big O Tires. Get your free inspection today. So I was like, fuck it. If it's free, I'm going. So sure enough, I went, got my inspection. And now after this, I have to give my consent to do my background check. And then they start the application process. This takes forever. Like I said, that's why I said it takes about a month. It probably takes you a bit quicker if you're not, you know, bullshitting around, not getting your car inspected. Now you could get your car inspected for free at an Uber office. They have a mechanic guy that does all the point inspection right there. I know this because I went down there to get I was in Phoenix, you know, the Super Bowl's around here, so they were giving away morphines and stuff like that for your charge stations, what they call it. And I saw this. I was like, whoa. So Uber accepted me. Took another, about a weekish, totaling a month, to finally get the app to work, my car to be added onto the app. And so I was like, yes, finally. You know, this is when I was working a really shitty job, overnight, you know, graveyard shift, 8 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. basically. And I was unhappy. My body was doing some weird shit to me because I wasn't used to working overnights. But that was at the time the only job I could get right away. The first night of Uber, this is about October-ish. I was like, I'm ready. I was in a parking lot. I just filled my tank. You know, I'm dressed up good. You know, and I'm like, let's do this. So I go ahead and hit online. And all of a sudden it's like, you can't go online until you take a picture of yourself. And I was like, what the hell? So you have to take a picture of yourself. You can upload a picture of yourself, which I didn't have of me. So I was sitting there for an extra 10 or 15 minutes trying to get a good picture of myself with the flash on, so I could put that up in the profile. So when you get pinged by somebody, your picture comes up. So I got to make sure. So it's basically whenever a rider gets me as their driver, my picture of me basically sitting in the car comes up, and it's nothing fancy. So whatever they get, getting a picture, the picture shouldn't matter too much. Is the driver, who gives you a quality ride. I did that. I finally hit go online. 3 seconds later, I got a call. I was like, I wasn't expecting this. I was like, I was expecting I had to go drive around for a bit and then maybe get pinged. I picked some kids up. Very rude, actually. My first ever Uber rider was that kind of really awkward. I try to make conversations. You should know this, that not everybody wants to have a conversation with you. So I've actually learned to let them kind of talk. Because if you're like, hey, how's your night? If you're, if you want to start the conversation, throw it out there, throw a feeler out there, be like, how's your night? And then they're like, it's been good, man. But if they give you like, yeah, it's all right, and then that's it, then you probably just drive them to where they need to be. And the last thing they want to do is have a 20-minute conversation with their Uber driver when they probably had they had a shit ton to drink or probably had a shitty night, and the last thing they want to do is talk to us. So my first night at Uber, I made over $100. Now, I was in shock the whole time because every ride I was getting was about $20. $25 every ride I was getting. And I was in areas that I would never have even dreamed of going when I was in Lyft. Lyft, you have to be in certain areas to even get pinged, as in, college, Tempe, ASU. You'll get some rides there, but if I would come down to the Chandler, Mesa area, and I'm talking about Arizona, nothing. It would be crickets. But with Uber, I could be by my house and I'll get pinged the other day. I'm sitting in my house getting ready. I'll turn it on, whatever, if anything. Sure enough, I was putting my shoes on and I got pinged. I was like, oh, so I throw on my slippers and I took my shoes with me, basically, because they don't really, they don't see your feet. So I got a ride all 20 miles away, and I dropped the guy off. Finally was able to put my shoes on. So it's very unpredictable with this, but Uber is definitely, I'm going to tell you this right now, there's really, it's difficult to say because Lyft is good, Uber is not necessarily better, but is more lucrative. You will get more requests from Uber, I will tell you right now. Will you get some from Lyft? Absolutely. Yes, you will. Now, my suggestion is to get 2 phones. Get 2 phones. If you can't afford a second phone, borrow a phone from a family for the night. Believe me, it's awesome to have 2 phones. One with Uber, obviously Uber only works with iPhones. Unfortunately, it's stupid. It should work for Android. And Lyft will work for iPhone and Android. That's whatever. I don't know why they do this. Get 2 phones, please. Believe me, at one point, I just dedicated my one phone that I had at the time to Uber because that was more lucrative, and in some respects, it was more lucrative. I was averaging I went from about $93 to my most lucrative week with Lyft to about over $400 a week with Uber, and that's just driving 4 hours a night, maybe on the weekends. I would drive. And it's okay. There was a while there that I didn't do Lyft. I was doing nothing but Uber because it was just becoming way too lucrative. And then I'll just once in a while, mind you, I only had one phone, so I was kind of alternating. I was I'll turn on Lyft tonight, get one call, wait about 20 minutes, nothing. I'll turn on Lyft or I'll turn on Uber. As soon as I turn on Uber, bing, I get requested. So get 2 phones. It's going to be very lucrative for you. You're going to be sitting there, and the time that you're waiting for somebody to get Uber, somebody at that time could be requesting a Lyft. Get requested from Lyft, go offline with Uber, and vice versa. And believe me, your profits will. I wouldn't say for me anyways. It hasn't doubled, but it's given me some extra income that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise just by driving with Uber. Now, the downside of these, it's fun. The upside is fun. It's fun. You get to meet a lot of people. You get to have awesome, interesting conversations. You're going to have a lot of stories to tell to your family or wife or boyfriend or wherever when you get home. Believe me, I tell my wife all these stories when I get home. And I'm like, this guy was crazy, this guy was interesting, this guy was funny, this guy was drunk. So you'll have that. The pay is good for, I guess, for Uber. Lyft is a little iffy with me. I'll get, 1 week I'll get over $100 with Lyft. The other week I'll get about 40 something bucks with Lyft. But, Uber has somewhat stayed consistent if you go out and work for it. Don't expect to work, 2 hours a night, not get anything, 2 hours a night, 2 or 3 times a week, and expect to be this is not worth it. You have to go out and really work for it, especially the weekends. I myself work full time for these 2, and I work Monday. I basically work every day only because I want to make that money. I technically have all day off until basically the nighttime, so that's what I do. And the downside of both of these services is there's no direct support for them. There's no number to call. So if something happens, everything's done through email. If there's a billing issue, if there's a glitch in the system, which happens, it's going to happen to you. It's inevitable. This is a system that's run by, robots somewhere or whatever. It's all done, and it's happened to me. I'll drop somebody off, and you're with Uber, you're supposed to slide to end a ride so we could calculate your total. I go to slide to end the ride, and the app turns off on me. It goes to the home screen, and I'm like, oh great, that happened for about half an hour until it finally fixed itself. So if you have an error or a billing cycle or a billing question, you have to deal with some person who happens to be checking their email. Sometimes they will get you. Sometimes they'll get to you right away. Sometimes it'll be the next morning. If you have if it's an emergency, it's the next morning. And so that's another downside. Another downside is, I cannot stress this enough, is finding people. Believe me, you're gonna run into this all the goddamn time. But for the most part, you're gonna be able to find people where they are. But when you got somebody who's drunk, when you got somebody who really doesn't pay attention to where they put because everything's done by PIN. Lyft and Uber is the same thing. You gotta drag a PIN to where you are. Most of the time, I just don't understand how this happens. Most of the time, the PIN automatically is put where your location are, and this and this. That the downside is something the PIN is moved sometimes next door to them or on the other side of the street from them. So you're driving there to the PIN like a dumbass, hitting arrived, and 20 minutes later, you're sitting there for about, not 20 minutes, hope you don't wait that long. You're waiting about 10 minutes. And nobody's coming out of that house supposedly where they are, and then they call you or you call them like, yeah, I'm out here. Where are you at? I'm like, well, I'm at the address. They're like, oh no, I'm at this address. It ends up being like either the one over the next street or up the street, and it's a pain in the butt. I've had people 20 miles away put their PIN right by me. So I'll drive about 10 minutes to pick them up, and it's like this parking lot in the middle of some district somewhere, and I'm like, well, this is awkward to pick people up here. And then they'll call me or I'll call them like, hey, I'm at this address you put. They're like, well, I'm at this bar. And I'm like, I look around, I don't see a bar. So they're so fucking wasted that they put the PIN 20 miles away. And in those situations, just cancel the trips. Just put wrong address or whatever shown. And that's basically what you got to do. And I haven't had too much problem really with drivers. Or riders, sorry. I haven't had too much problems with riders. I've had some rude ones. I've had some. I have not had anybody yell at me yet. So that's, I've had some people get frustrated with me because maybe they just don't know how to. I've had people get frustrated with me because they don't know where they're going. I've had that happen. This is the thing. You don't have to know the whole fucking city you're at, but it's good to know where certain landmarks are or certain streets are. When they say, hey, I need to go to this street and this street, you should probably know this. So if you're, when you start Uber or Lyft and you go to a certain city or you're going around your neighborhood, please know it, because they're going to be like, it happens to me a lot, because they have the option of putting their address in, before they call you or when you arrive. And that's my easiest fare. I love it. I hit go online or drive or whatever, begin drive, and they put the address in themselves, and I'm like, I don't have to fucking tell them, hey, left or right here, up and down or left, where do I go? So you're gonna have people jump in your car and be like, hey, I'm on Alma School, and I'm just saying, I'm shouting out random street names in Arizona. I'm on McClintock and Baseline, and you probably should know where that is, because if you're like, well, and if they say that and you're like, should I make a left or right here? Chances are they're going to rate you pretty low. And that's, so going into that, at least know where your cross streets are, or don't know the whole fucking city end to end. Just know where the cross streets are. It's not that hard. For Lyft and Uber. Another downside is you're going to be dealing, especially you're going to be working at night like I do. I work from about 9 or 10 to about 3 a.m. Not too bad. You're sitting in your car, just chilling. I read a book, whatever. It's pretty easy. Listen to music. You're going to be dealing with drunk people. Now, the beginning of the night, when you go out about 9, let's say if you go about 8, between 8 and 10, you're going to be dealing with sober people, thankfully. most of the part. You're going to be taking them to the bars to get drunk. Now, once that's done, about between 12 and 3, you're going to get people coming out of the bars. Now, you got to be patient with these guys. They are going to be out of it. There's some better than others, but they are going to be fucking wasted. And these guys are going to most likely put in the wrong address, put the PIN somewhere else. So always verify with them. Text them. The cool thing about it is that you could text these guys. With Uber, you could text. Lyft, you cannot. Lyft, you can only make phone calls. I've people actually told me that they stopped taking Lyft because they prefer texting the fucking drivers instead of calling them. It doesn't make any sense. Uber, you're able to text each other. So, just have them double check. Just have them double check everything. Now, the good thing about Uber is that they have their own built-in navigation system. Uber, as soon as you get a request, it's like, bling! You got 15 seconds, I think, to tap on the screen, or it goes to the next driver that's further out, and it automatically starts directing you. You can hit navigate and it'll tell you where to go. Lyft, as soon as you, same thing, 15 seconds, bleep, you hit it. It actually has to open up a secondary. Navigation, whatever you choose, like Google Maps or whatever the hell, and that's when you go. And sometimes Google Maps, for my phone, I have a shitty LG something that's really slow. So sometimes it takes a bit for Google Maps to open on mine, and by the time I have to U-turn it. So that's another downside with Lyft, is that they don't have their own built-in navigation system. They use a third party, which is either Google Maps or whatever the hell you guys have. So be prepared for that. Uber is odd. Uber has mastered their app. They made it very simple to. There's really no necessity to go out of that app, except if the driver puts in a wrong address, and then you have to kind of look for the right address on Google Maps on your phone. That's basically the only time you're going to have to do that. Now, busy areas is another thing that you need to kind of worry about. If you're going to, let's say, bars and stuff like that, and bars that you have to kind of pull into the street, and you can't really be there for more than a few minutes. So you got to make sure, here's the thing. You could either drive around until that person is outside, because about 99% of the time when people request an Uber or a Lyft, they're going to still be inside that establishment. It's not until they see, oh, my Uber's going to be here in 5 minutes, I still have a few minutes to chill in here. They're not going to ever come out because they don't track. Not a lot of people will look at, they're not going to be like, oh my God, my Uber's almost here. I think they get pinged or whatever. I've never taken an Uber before, but they get pinged, and then they, an Uber, your Uber's here. But the thing is that if you're in a high-end traffic area and there's people behind you and you're kind of pulling into where the pin is, expecting them to be there, most likely they're not going to be. Now, here's the thing. You could chill there and wait as long as you can. Put your emergency lights on. But as soon as a cop comes up to you and they tell you to move along, unfortunately, you got to move along, and you got to, that's another downside of all this. Uber and Lyft. It's not just one or the other. You're probably going to have to be doing a lot of, U-turns just to come back to the same spot, hoping the fucking guy or girl is there, or a group of people are there to be ready to jump in your car. So that's a lot of the downsides of that. You'll just be patient. Don't, if they start getting a little snotty, or because you're probably going to be going into some areas with higher class, they're going to be, their attitude and stuff like that are probably going to be you're going to meet a lot of different people. So you just think of it as it's your job, it's your job. You have to be very courteous to them. You got to be very nice to them. Whether you like it or not, because they can leave you a bad review, and that could affect your score. And I want to talk about that for a minute. With Lyft in general, I may get more people with Uber, But I deal with a lot of douchebags. That's the only thing. With Lyft, I may not get many people, but about 99% of them are really cool. They're mostly fucking college kids, but they're really cool. I have yet, at one time I had a girl almost throw up in my car on Lyft. Thankfully, I stopped. I'm like, if you need to throw up, please get out of the car. She got out of the car, and she's like, I don't need to throw up. And then half a second later, blah, she threw up. So that was my one and only close call that I have somebody throw up in my car. Never with Uber. Never officially have somebody throw up in a car. And if you're curious if that happens, you're supposed to. I think you're supposed to take a picture of it. That's what I've been told. I hope that's not true, because I really don't feel like taking a picture of vomit. You're supposed to take a picture of it and then send it over to Lyft or Uber, and then they will reimburse you the cleaning. So you're out of pocket at first. You clean it. You pay for it, for the clean, and then they reimburse you. I'm assuming through your normal pay, or however they pay you. They pay you every week. Lyft pays you Wednesdays, and Uber pays you every Thursday. So every Wednesday, every Thursday, you get paid. And I like that, because I'll get paid from Lyft, and then the next day, knowing that I'll get another deposit from Uber. So it's pretty cool. Let's see. It's an okay job. They're really cool, and it's really easy, especially if you know the area. If you're very new to the city, most likely you probably want to get to know the city better before you kind of hop on to start driving. And I'm sorry, I know I didn't say like I'm just going on and there's really no time limit. I might go for another 10 minutes talking, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just this is another way of venting and just giving my experiences. If you guys don't want to listen, just stop or whatever, go away, go do another video. But, this is a guy I've been with both companies for about 5 months now. So you're listening and watching a person who's has seen some shit. And I really want to talk about this past week in Phoenix. Had two massive events, the Super Bowl and the Phoenix Open, which Tiger Woods and all this, whoever, I don't stick to golf, but last week was the busiest ever of the year for Uber and Lyft. The time before then was New Year's Eve, and even they said this is the busiest freaking time ever. I made some fucking good money. I'm not gonna say the whole amount, whatever, but let's say I was, it was pretty good. It was very comfortable, and I didn't do much work. Was it stressful? Fuck yeah, it was stressful, because I was heading into areas that had a high traffic, a lot of cars trying to get into one little street where all the clubs are, stuff, those type of situations. But the cool thing about it is, if you don't know about this, Lyft and Uber has this thing called surging. Now, when you're going to request an Uber, it actually lets you know, hey, what surging pretty much is that it's gonna because there's not that many drivers in the area, they're gonna surge the prices because it's busy. So the rates could go up from one time to about, I've seen it as high as 6 times. So let's say if you need your fare is going to be $10 and you need to go, you need to go a few miles, your fare, and if it's a times 3, most likely your fare is going to be at $30 or $40, versus, what it would normally cost. Lyft has the same thing. It has a prime time. It's not called the surge. It's called prime time, where they basically do the same thing. Instead, they don't do the times. They do, it's 100 times the amount, right now. It's 100%. They do percentage, sorry. It's 25% of what, it's basically 25% more if you want to ride right now. Or I've seen it as low as 5%. I've seen as high as 150% of what the surge pricing is right now. That is a godsend, because it would basically the whole weekend of the Super Bowl, it was nothing but surging all day, basically the whole state of Arizona. I took somebody from Tempe to Glendale, where the Super Bowl was. It was about a 40-minute drive, about a 50-mile trip. I got $200 out of that one. It was 3 times. It was surging at 3 times the amount. It was a good week. That night, I took somebody 2 to maybe 4 miles, and I got $40 for it. So I think it was surging about 5 or 6 times. This is all Uber. I hardly turned on Lyft. I think I turned on Lyft on Saturday, I think, of the Super Bowl weekend last Saturday, and I got 120. I got 125% surge for Lyft by taking somebody like 50 miles. So it's pretty cool. Now this is only for Super Bowl weekend. I went out to drive yesterday, and it is, let's see, I went out driving yesterday on Wednesday, the 4th of February, and it was dead. So going from a busy week to this, it's kind of it's a weird feeling. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. What the hell's going on? There's not many people wanting rides, because you go from everybody's in town, everybody needs a ride to the airport, to the Super Bowl. I only took one ride to the Super Bowl because it was jam-packed. Everybody was trying to get there, and I was like, once is enough. I got $50 out of it. I'm like, I'm heading home this day. I am good. Now, like I said, it's a good company. Both companies are good to work for. Uber has a thing. If you don't have a phone, Uber will provide you a phone, but they will charge a $200 deposit. Now, the good thing about that is that the $200 deposit, you don't have to pay the $200 deposit up front. They take it out of your paycheck. They take $50 out of your weekly pay. Now, this is excluding the $10 that they charge you per week. So technically, they're going to be taking $60 out of your first. You're going to start taking $60 out a week. Once the first month is paid off, once you paid your $200 deposit, then they'll just be charging you $10 a week for that phone rental. It's an iPhone 4S through AT&T, I believe, and it's 4G. So you're not getting shitty 3G speeds. You're actually getting 4G speeds and good enough for navigation. Good thing about that is that you get the $200 back when you return the phone in good working condition. Don't turn in, don't turn in fucking cracked. You won't get your goddamn deposit back. Now, and so there you go. I mean, that's another way to get a second phone. Just use the 4S for Uber and use your normal phone for Lyft. Boom, problem solved right there. Now, and I mentioned already, don't expect to get prompt customer support with I haven't dealt much with the Lyft. That's the thing. I haven't had too many problems with Lyft. They've been spot on. Lyft has been spot on with everything. Then again, I hadn't had too many problems to be bugging them. Uber, I've had more problems only because I deal with more people and I've had more situations. I've had, just weird situations come up where I'm like having to sit there and I have to pull over in a plaza somewhere typing in like, hey, this just happened to me. Can you advise? And sometimes they get to you right away, minutes, and sometimes they'll wait a day to get back to you. So that's what you need to expect. Now, here's another thing, and for people who are thinking or getting into Uber and or Lyft, when you get pulled over, here's the thing, and they don't educate you in this. I got pulled over a few weeks back because listen, I'll admit to that part. Okay, I was on the left lane, and I think I got pinged to pick somebody up, and I went from the left to the right lane to make a right to go pick the passenger up, and a cop saw this, pulled me over, so I got cited for that, and he's like, oh, you're from Uber. Okay, I need to see your commercial insurance. I'm like, I wasn't told. I'm like, they didn't tell me that I had my commercial. I didn't have that. I didn't have to have a commercial insurance on me or something like that. So he marked me for that. So I was like, oh my god, it was a civil traffic for not having commercial insurance. So I got that, and I'm like, fuck this. I went home. I was all pissed just for one night, and. The next day he calls me, the officer who gave me the ticket. He's like, I didn't respond. I was scared. I was like, oh god, he's gonna come after me. And we finally met up at all places while I was out driving at a QT. He's like, "Hey, I've been trying to look for you." I'm like, "Oh God, I'm gonna get arrested or something." He's like, I gotta give you the new ticket that I gave you. I accidentally made a mistake in the last ticket I gave you. And so the commercial, not having a commercial insurance, even though I didn't know at the time, it was upgraded to criminal traffic. So this is how severe, well, in Tempe, Arizona anyways, I don't know about, I've talked to cops here in Mesa where I live that they're like, we don't care. You know, we think they're good service. You know, I've had cops saying Uber's the best because it's, you know, drunk assholes aren't getting in behind their own cars. They're calling reliable people. You know, instead of paying $20 versus paying thousands of dollars by getting a DUI or fucking running into a family full of a van full of, you know, that has kids in it. So they love Uber, but the assholes in Tempe, the cops in Tempe, they don't see it that way. You know, he was, you know how cops could be. They're very like, he was very confrontive and he was throwing me off. And I was like, so come to find out that you actually, Lyft and or Uber have your commercial insurance. It's on the fucking app. I didn't know this. I was like, how in the hell? You know, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, do I have commercial insurance through them? I hope. Yeah, you do. Legally, they can't operate that. You're technically not a cab, but you're acting as a cab. You can name it as much. You can name it ride sharing or whatever you guys call it. Even though they call it ride sharing, you're still a fucking cab. Okay, you're still acting as a cab. So technically, you need commercial insurance, which don't worry, you will have if you are working with Lyft and or Uber. You just if you ever do get pulled over, bust out your app. And it's usually for Uber, it's under Waybill. I'm not sure about Lyft. Look that up for sure. If you go under Uber, under Waybill, it's going to be right at the bottom. It's going to be insurance. And you just show that to the cop. Like, hey, here's my insurance card. This is what, and have your name and they'll have the insurance and they should take that. So what I got to do now is I got to go down to the court and face a judge for my stupid maneuver that I did. I'll take blame for that, obviously. But I have to go and explain to a judge that's probably in his 50s or 60s, if anything. You know, I always get an old judge, and explain to this guy, no, my insurance card is actually here on my app, and I work for Uber, and this, and he's probably never heard. Listen, I'm sure he's heard of Uber, but I have to go tell a judge that my insurance, my commercial insurance, is here on the app. So, and here's the thing, Uber's not too fast on helping you out in a situation like that, because I was all freaking. I was like, hey, I just got pulled over and the guy gave me shit about being with Uber, and here's the thing, the cop said it was illegal. That's another thing. So cops in Tempe versus cops in a different city, because I asked these cops in Mesa, they were like, no, it shouldn't be illegal. You know, maybe it's different things in different cities, but prepare. Not every cop's going to do this, but prepare to be given shit like I was. And don't freak out. You do have commercial insurance on your app, or there's forms you can print out. But here's the thing: Uber is not very upfront with that. I've asked them, like, hey, where can I print out this form saying I had insurance at the time, or I could just print out a form of insurance and put it in my glove compartment? And they're like, it's in your app. That's what they said. It's in your app. And I'm like, listen, I'm not going to go up to the judge and be like, here is my insurance, here's my phone. I want to show them a fucking paper. And they didn't even, with that question, they didn't even respond to me to this day. I had to go down to the offices because I wanted to go get a free charger or whatever they were giving out so I could have a charging station in my car. And I'm like, hey, you guys kind of dodging my question. You know, they're like, okay, here. They finally gave me a link to where you could get the commercial insurance, and it's by state or whatever. So, yeah, it's an interesting job and it's an interesting situation. And I think it's still good. I quit my graveyard shift where I was working. I'm working full time for these two companies, and it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I hope I'm sorry. This is almost 40 minutes long from what it looks like. I'm sorry. It's very ranty, but if you guys have stayed this long, thank you. And if you have any more questions or concerns, or please tell me any crazy situations that you have run into driving for Lyft or Uber, or if you have any questions that you're thinking about getting into Lyft and or Uber, you should be getting into both. You have no excuse. get into both. If you need to, if you had to choose which one to get into first, I would say get into Uber. Get into Uber, or actually maybe start with Lyft and then start working your way with Uber, because Lyft, you'll be on the road a lot quicker. Uber, you have to do a lot more stuff. You have to get your inspection done. But now a lot of cities and a lot of states have local Uber offices that you can take your car to. So there's no excuse. You should be what company's better? It's hard to say, but all I can say is that Uber has been more profitable for me than Lyft. I'm not saying that Lyft has made me $0. It has made me money, but there you don't. If you're just doing Lyft, you should be doing Uber as well, because if you're complaining that like, oh, I do Lyft and I have it on for 4. I've had Lyft on for 4 hours while having Uber on at the same time without getting pinged by Lyft at all. I get hit by Uber all the time. So, but I've seen Lyft be dead for an hour or two, and I'm getting blown up by Lyft. So that whole time, if I just had one phone with Uber, then there's like an hour or two dead zone. Then you're gonna be like, oh, what the fuck, man. But if you had Lyft, chances are, while Uber has a dead zone, Lyft is going to be blowing up. So that's happened to me. So I can't really tell you which company's better, because they've both been okay. Lyft, to be honest, Lyft is probably not going to make you that much money, depending on what city you live in. I live in Phoenix, Mesa, Tempe. I go all over, Chandler. So if you're watching this video from Arizona, I go all over. There's really no hot spot. Because a lot of places there's bars, and a lot of places know what Uber and Lyft is now. So, yeah, I do both. Start with Lyft, work your way to Uber, and just so at one point you're gonna have 2 phones on, and you're gonna get hit by one of them. Or like me, I got hit by both at the same time, and you're like, oh shit. I'm glad I remember that. It's rating systems. Uber is all about rating systems. Now, here's the thing. I currently have a 4.8 rating system on Uber. It's a bit scary because I started out with every new driver starts out with a 5. I started with a 5. I dropped down to a 4.9. I went up, then I bumped up to a 4.95. So that's pretty cool, and at one point I was I was in the top 5 highest rated in Phoenix. Then I don't know what happened. Maybe I'm not cool enough anymore or whatever. I thought maybe I should probably start buying waters and stuff like that to give to the customers or whatever, but maybe that's dropping my ratings, or again, maybe a lot of people just aren't rating. So don't be scared that your ratings are dropping down. Like I said, I'm sitting neatly at a 4.8. Now, when it starts dropping below that, below about 4.7 something, then you probably should start getting a little worried there, because I think they could deactivate your account at a 4.6, if I'm not mistaken. And there's no way to come back from that. I think once they deactivate your account, there's really you're done. You're done with Uber. So just, if you just keep doing, I met a lot of drivers who have been at a 4.8 forever, and they're like, it happens, but it hasn't fallen below that. I've been doing everything I could. I give the waters, I open the car doors, yada, yada. It's just a lot of people, you got to think about this, and you're driving a lot of drunk people, so they're probably they're going to forget to rate you, or they're going to give you probably, shitty ratings because they're drunk. Lyft is a little different. You can rate them, and the cool thing about both Uber and Lyft, you can rate the drivers, the riders as well. So if they're fucking weird and creepy and they're just assholes, you can rate them. And if it's 3 stars and below, you will never be matched with them again. So that's a cool thing. If they weirded you out or they were just dickholes to you, you could just I've done that. I'm like, all right, I got these guys to where they were. They were dicks, but you know what? I'll just rate them 3 or below, and I never had to deal with them again. So you're gonna run into that. Lyft's rating system is the same way. They really don't. I think they have, but Lyft is more lenient. First of all, to drive a Lyft, I think you have to have a 2004 and newer, if I'm not mistaken. It could be newer than that. And they actually rate you on your driving performance and acceptance rate. That's the thing about Lyft. So if you're missing a lot of calls, like I've missed a few calls because I have both apps open, and I'll get pinged by Uber and I'll accept it, and I'll go to turn Lyft offline and I'll get pinged, and unfortunately you can't do anything. You got to either choose. I usually choose Uber over Lyft only because, or either way around. It all depends. So you'll actually get marked down by not accepting calls or cars or whatever, or rides with Lyft. Uber, I don't know how they work. I don't know if that probably affects it too. There's been instances where I've had people ping me that are about 20 miles away, and I'm like, I don't want to take that one. I'm here. I'm in a busy area. I'm not driving 20 miles out of my way to go pick up some guy who probably just needs to go to 4 or 5 minutes away. That's actually happened to me. I've been down deep somewhere, and I'll get pinged about 15 to 20 minutes away, and I'll go there. I'm like, oh, they're pinging me. It has to be because they have that long drive. No, I'll get there, and I only take them about 4 minutes away. So it's an interesting situation. But the thing is that sometimes all the drivers are so busy that the nearest person or the nearest driver will be about 15 to 20 minutes out. Sometimes that happened to me. So it's your choice. You don't have to pick up that person. If you see that they're about a 15 to 20 minute drive out of your way to where you are, cancel it. Do not be afraid. Don't cancel it every freaking time. Don't be like, oh, cancel, because they'll actually send you warnings. Uber sends me a text saying you've been canceling a certain percent of your requests. I have yet to get it from Lyft. I don't know what warnings they send. So don't be scared. Don't be scared to do it. All right, guys, I think I've ranted long enough. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, thank you for sticking with this video this long. Again, if you're thinking about getting to Uber and Lyft, I'm going to put in my code below, pass this code around, or I'm going to, I don't know, I'll work some type of magic. It's going to be on the screen or it's going to be on my description below. Everybody has a code. Once you get activated by Lyft and or Uber, they give you a code that you hand out to your friends or customers and stuff like that. Once they take their first ride, you get credited. I forgot the amount. I think it's $5. You get money. Once they use their free ride, because technically everybody who tries Uber the first time gets a free ride. You could get I think $20. I've seen them up to $30. So if you use my code, which is going to be either somewhere on the screen or at the bottom of the description, use my code, put it in, the next time you want to, if you're going to be riding Uber, and you don't want to, I think it's like with Uber, it's going to be $20 credit. So basically, it'll cover your first ride unless you're going 30 miles away. So it'll cover $20 of that 30 mile drive. But if you're only going about 10 miles away, it'll cover it easily, and you have some credit left over. Lyft gives you your first 10. I think it's your first $10. It gives you a $10 credit. So next, if you're watching this video and and you want to get a free ride, use my code. I get some kickback on it, and you get a free ride. So we both win. Also, if you are so if you're thinking about driving, let me, shoot me a message. And you need some pointers or something like that. I'm more than happy to, help. Or if you have any, just write anything, concerns or whatever questions, what you need to do, write them at the bottom. All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with me this long. I'm sorry for ranting. It's just, I have a lot of information. I have a lot of experience with Uber and Lyft. All right, guys. Until next time. See you later.